She set the trap before you ever arrived. Before the first date, before the first text, before the moment you made her laugh in a way she had not expected. The architecture was already in place, invisible, carefully constructed over years of learning precisely which kind of man could be trusted with the version of her that does not perform. Most men walk directly into it, trigger every mechanism she laid without knowing it was there, and then spend weeks trying to understand what shifted and when. That is not carelessness. It is that this system was never designed to be visible to you. That is exactly what makes it work. 5 specific mechanisms live inside this psychological architecture, and the third one is the piece I almost did not bring here today, because once you hear it, you will not be able to read another interaction with her the same way. There is also something specific you have been doing, with genuine care, with the best intentions available to a man who was never given the right map, that has been activating her evaluation sequence in exactly the wrong direction. Not because you are not enough, because nobody ever explained what she was actually measuring. The man who figures this out is not the most impressive candidate in the room. He is the one who finally understood the architecture she built, not to exclude him, but to find out whether he was the one worth letting all the way in. That understanding changes everything that follows. You have done the consistency, you have done the patience and the careful communication. You gave her space when she signaled she needed it, and stayed present when everything in her seemed to be pulling away. You did what every framework you were ever handed told you to do, and still watched her go quiet behind a warmth so genuine that the distance somehow became harder to name. You noticed things about her that most men do not bother to look for. And somewhere on the drive home, there was a silence that sat in your chest for days, and that you eventually filed under the wrong explanation. That silence had a reason. The reason was never the one you settled on. Your method was not broken. Your map was wrong. And the only distance between you and the outcome you deserved was the gap between the map you had and the one I am about to give you. Dr. Stephen Porges at Indiana University spent decades documenting what he named neuroception, the process by which the human nervous system evaluates social safety before the conscious mind has time to form a single interpretation of what it is perceiving. Not perception, pre-perception. The body reads tone, rhythm, and presence through the vagal system and delivers a verdict in fractions of a second. That verdict is not a thought she has about you. It is a state she is already inside before she understands why she is inside it. What this means in practice is that she is not consciously deciding whether to trust you. Her nervous system is running an involuntary evaluation program, and the psychological architecture she has built over the years of her life is how that program expresses itself in behavior. The trap she sets is not a strategy she designed. It is the visible form of her body's oldest and most reliable protection mechanism. Understanding what it is actually measuring is the only thing that changes your relationship to it. She is somewhere between 35 and 55, most likely. She built something real, a career, a home, a version of herself that belongs entirely to her, not because she did not want someone beside her while she built it, but because she learned at a specific moment she rarely mentions anymore, that making herself dependent on that hope was a form of disappearing she refused to do again. Whether she is 29 or 53, this evaluation architecture inside her is identical in its function. It simply becomes more refined with each year of accumulated experience about which behaviors in a man constitute evidence and which constitute performance. What she has not made peace with, beneath all the capability and the carefully maintained self-sufficiency, is the longing. the specific, persistent desire to find one person she does not have to manage. One person whose stability does not require her labor to maintain. She has almost never said this out loud. She has barely allowed herself to feel it clearly. But it is the reason every test she runs carries the weight it carries. She is not running them to reject you. She is running them to find out whether you might actually be the one. The first mechanism is what I call the stillness calibration. This is the foundational wire in her psychological architecture, and it activates the moment she begins to feel something that carries real weight. Not mild interest, the specific pull that starts to feel dangerous, the kind that makes a woman aware she has something to lose. When that feeling arrives, her nervous system initiates an involuntary sequence. She introduces a small amount of distance, a slightly shorter response, a longer pause before she answers, a subtle reduction in the warmth she had been offering. Not because she has decided anything consciously, because her wiring is running one specific check. Dr. Sue Johnson at the University of Ottawa documented this pattern as a primary feature of adult attachment evaluation. The introduction of emotional space to measure a partner's internal regulation under low-level relational pressure. What her nervous system is not measuring is whether you pursue her. It is measuring whether your internal center remains intact when she is not actively feeding it. Whether the quality of your presence shifts under the pressure of her withdrawal, or whether it holds precisely as it was. That distinction, whether you need her warmth to maintain your frame, or whether you carry your frame independent of her current output, is the entire first test. It registers in her body before she has formed a single conscious interpretation of the interaction. The dark psychology architecture here is ancient, involuntary, and extraordinarily precise. A man who performs stillness as a calculated response is running a fundamentally different internal program than a man who genuinely does not need her withdrawal to feel whole. And her nervous system was built over years specifically to detect that distinction. But this only reaches its full power when you understand what comes next. Because without it, everything you just learned can quietly work against you in the exact moment it matters most. The second mechanism is the investment constancy test. When the connection develops real warmth, when something between you has begun to carry actual weight, she will introduce what appears to be a slight reduction in her own investment. A delayed response. A shorter message where there had been longer ones. A small ambiguity where there had been clarity. Not because she wants less, because she wants to see whether your engagement tracks her output or holds steady independent of it. What she is not looking for is increased pursuit. A man who escalates his investment in response to her cooling tells her something specific, that her warmth is the fuel his engagement runs on, that her output controls his input. That information registers in her nervous system not as flattering, but as instability, the specific kind that tells her she will spend the rest of this connection managing his emotional temperature. And she has been managing temperatures for everyone in every room for long enough. Dr. Amir Levine at Columbia University found in his research on adult attachment styles that consistent, regulated responsiveness, presence that neither escalates nor diminishes based on the partner's fluctuations, is the single behavioral signal most reliably associated with recalibration of an evaluating nervous system toward genuine safety. It does not simply reassure her, it actually shifts the baseline from which her wiring makes its assessments of what you are. The men who have lived through exactly this dynamic, who felt the temperature drop and responded in a way they now understand differently, Carry something forward from today that changes every future interaction. And I covered the deeper neurological foundation beneath this particular pattern in an earlier video, so if you have been here before, you already know why what comes next carries more weight than it initially appears to. The third mechanism, and this is the one I want you to sit with before we go any further, is what I call the fracture point witness test. At some specific moment in the early development of what is between you, she will offer a fragment of the real version of herself, not her composed self, not the version that has everything organized and handled and is performing being perfectly fine. Something genuine, a fear she does not typically voice, a memory that still has weight in the chest, a moment of being visibly less than her most capable. She will offer it quietly, almost in passing, as though it costs her very little to say. It costs her everything. What she is running in that moment is the most sophisticated calibration in her entire evaluation architecture. Her nervous system is measuring one precise thing in your response. Whether your presence becomes more solid when she reveals something real, or whether it shifts, even fractionally, even invisibly, toward the management of something that has become complicated. Dr. Brené Brown at the University of Houston documented this as the central paradox of vulnerability in high-functioning women who have developed capability as protection. The women who most need to be seen are the ones with the most finely calibrated detection systems for whether being seen is actually safe. Her research found that it is not a man's verbal response to female vulnerability that determines whether she continues opening. It is whether she senses him becoming more present or more careful, more drawn toward her realness, or more occupied with navigating it. What her body needs is stillness, not words, not solutions, not reassurance that you can handle her complexity, the specific stillness of a man who encounters the real, unmanaged version of her and does not reorganize a single element of his presence in response to it. The signal that says, without any syllable at all, "You just showed me something you keep protected, and nothing in me moved away from it." This is where most men fail silently, with genuine warmth, with the absolute best intentions. They lean forward, they speak more, they offer more. And her nervous system reads increased visible effort as a response to discomfort, which means her vulnerability just created a problem he is now actively managing. That is not the man she needed. The man she needed stayed completely still. And the next piece either activates this completely or reveals the one place this principle silently breaks down in a way most men never fully recover from. I never told him directly what I needed. I showed him with every piece of behavior I offered, and then I was quietly angry that he did not speak the language. What scared me was not that he would leave, it was that he would stay, and still never understand what he was looking at. The fourth mechanism is the sovereign frame signal. There is a specific quality in a man that separates the men she finds comfortable from the men she finds herself thinking about at specific, inconvenient moments later in her day. It has almost nothing to do with what he says. It has everything to do with the way he holds himself inside his own perspective, independent of her warmth toward it. His frame does not expand when she validates it. It does not contract when she questions it. His presence does not fill the room more when she leans in, and it does not diminish when she creates space. There is a center in him that belongs entirely to himself, and it does not require her current output to maintain its integrity. He is warm with her, genuinely, fully warm, but the warmth comes from his own interior, not from the feedback loop of her approval. What this does to her body, and I mean her body, not her analysis, is not simple attraction. It is recognition. A specific and almost unsettling encounter with something her nervous system has been running its evaluation sequence to find. Not managed steadiness, not performed calm. A man who is simply, actually, at rest inside himself, in a way her presence neither creates nor requires. The psychological principle at work here is involuntary on her end. Her nervous system recalibrates toward the most stable emotional reference point in its environment. It is not a choice she makes about you. It is her wiring finding its natural orientation, the way a compass finds north. A man who performs this quality as technique will be detected by the same system that was built to find the genuine version of it. A man who actually carries it, who has done the internal work of building a center that does not require her validation to hold, will feel to her like something she has been waiting to encounter, without fully admitting to herself that she was waiting. What I am about to tell you changes how you read everything you just heard, in a way you will not be able to undo once you understand it. The fifth mechanism is what I call the earned entry. This is where everything converges. She has been running this evaluation across every interaction between you. The stillness calibration, the investment constancy check, the fracture point witness, the sovereign frame signal. Each one has been delivering data to the part of her that operates below language, below careful rational assessment, below the version of her that makes considered decisions about appropriate men with reasonable qualities. What all of that data has been building toward is not a verdict. It is a threshold. Dr. Helen Fisher at Rutgers University documented, through neuroimaging studies of individuals in early stages of deep romantic connection, the specific moment when the brain's evaluation circuitry gives way to attachment circuitry. The dopaminergic reward system activates in combination with norepinephrine release in a measurable neurological event. Her body does not decide this the way she decides what to order or whether to trust what someone told her. It happens as a physiological response to the accumulated weight of evidence her nervous system has been gathering across every moment she has been in proximity to you. And here's the thing I need you to hold completely before you carry this forward. The psychological trap she set was never designed to keep you out. It was designed by her nervous system, not by her will, not by her strategy, not by any decision she made about you specifically, to protect the version of her that was hurt before. The real version, the one who opened and trusted and built something with someone, and then had to do the entire reconstruction alone afterward, while performing being fine for everyone around her who needed her to be fine. The testing, the evaluation, the walls that appear to you as distance or ambiguity, or a cooling you cannot explain. All of it is the intelligent self-protection of a woman who has learned through accumulated experience that she cannot afford to give access to the real version of herself to a man whose steadiness turns out to have conditions she did not see until it was too late. What her evaluation system was built to find is a man who passes not by performing the correct responses, but by actually being the man the correct responses belong to. A man whose center is not contingent on her warmth, whose presence does not require her management, whose stillness is not a technique but a character, who encounters the vulnerable version of her, the frightened version, the tired version, the version that is still carrying the weight of everything she rebuilt alone, and becomes more present because of it, not more careful. When her nervous system finds that man, it does not decide to trust him. It stops defending against him. The walls she built, not from coldness, never from coldness, always from intelligence accumulated through experience, begin to open. Not because she chose to open them, because her body registered, across every mechanism in that evaluation architecture, that they were no longer necessary. What she feels in that moment is unlike anything else in her experience of being drawn to someone. It is what she feels in her body when she realizes, for the first time in longer than she would admit out loud, that she has encountered someone she does not have to be strong for. Someone she does not have to hold together or manage or predict. The warmth that moves through her is not excitement in the ordinary sense. It is something that lands deeper, in a place she has not let anyone near in a long time. Something that feels in the body like the specific relief of putting down something heavy that she has been carrying for so long it stopped feeling like weight and started feeling like just how standing feels. She will not have language for it immediately. She will feel it before she understands it. And when she does understand it, the decision she needed to make will already have been made somewhere below thought. That is what the trap was for. Not to reject you, to find out if you were real enough to deserve what comes after it. And if you recognized a specific moment in your own history while listening to this, a specific woman, a specific silence, a specific interaction you have replayed without ever fully resolving, that recognition is not coincidence. It is the beginning of a different kind of awareness. The men who carry this understanding forward move through their next encounter differently. Something in how they move tells her everything she has been running her evaluation system to know. None of what you just heard requires money or status or youth or reinventing who you are. It requires presence, steadiness, the decision to understand what she has actually been measuring, and to be, genuinely, without performance, the kind of man her wiring was built across years of experience to recognize. The men who stay with this channel tend to be the ones who recognized early that what they were hearing was not another framework about attraction. It was the map they had been missing. If you are building that understanding, you already know whether this is the place you keep returning to. There is one more piece, and it is the piece that determines whether everything you just absorbed creates any real change or quietly dissolves in the ordinary noise of the week ahead. It is what she feels in the days after a man demonstrates everything you now understand. Whether that feeling builds into something she cannot find her way out of, or fades before she ever develops language for what it was. That is the next video. It is called Why She Goes Quiet After She Finally Lets You In, and what that silence is actually telling you. You have the architecture now. The moment she needs you to demonstrate it, be completely ready for it.